Good morning, children. Welcome to your I Learn English Literature class. So we were doing the poem The Brook by Alfred Tennyson, and we will continue with the poem today also. So let me share the screen with you. Some of you don't have your books. So this is the poem. So just a quick recap. The brook is a small stream, and the brook, this poem is about the journey of the brook from its origin to where it joins the brimming river, overflowing river. So the brook comes from the places which are frequently visited by birds like coot and hern. From there, it makes a sudden, quick movement. I told you that the brook has been the life of the brook, or the journey of the brook has been compared with the journey of human beings also. So when a child is born, it when a child is born, it is usually very active, very energetic, okay, full of life. So when the brook is born also, the brook makes a sudden quick movement, and it sparkles out, it shines, it reflects the sunlight, and it makes a lot of noise as it flows down valleys, hills, ridges. It makes a lot of noise. To bicker down a valley shows it is very noisy. The brook is very noisy as it flows down a valley. Then the brook passes through a lot of hills. The brook passes through ridges. Those are smaller hills. It glides through the ridges, and it on its way it passes a lot of small villages, one little town, and half a hundred bridges means around 50 bridges it passes. It goes underneath 50 bridges. So at last, in the end, the brook meets the overflowing river. Where does it meet the overflowing river? By Philip's farm. We have not been told who Philip is, but the brook tells us that it joins the brimming river near Philip's farm. And the refrain, which I told you yesterday, the refrain in this poem is, for men may come and men may go, but I go on forever, which is repeated 4 times in this poem. And it reflects the theme of the poem, which means that nature is perpetual. It is forever. Nature does not die. Men may come, take birth, they may leave, they may die, but nature goes on forever, continues forever. Okay, similarly, the brook, even though it joins the river, it lives through the river. It continues to live through the river. But men, once they die, their life is transient. They do not live forever, but the brook, or nature lives on forever. Okay. Then we come to know that the brook is very noisy. It chatters. That means it makes high pitched sounds as it passes over eddying bays. The words babble, bubble, it forms bubbles when it passes through bays which have a circular or spiral movement of water. So these are the indications which show that the brook is, when it is young, when it is just born, it flows through a lot of obstacles and it makes a lot of noise, just like human beings face a lot of challenges in their life, ups and downs. Similarly, the brook also, when it is flowing over stony paths, over pebbles, it makes a lot of noise, it passes those challenges. Okay, and it continuously makes sounds which are high pitched sounds, which shows how active the brook is in the beginning. With many a curve my banks I fret. That means it does not have a very smooth flow. The brook is has a winding path. It does not have a very smooth flow, and it carves out its own banks. While it is flowing, it makes its own banks, it carves out its own pattern. It passes many fields and fallow lands, also lands which have been uncultivated, and uh, it passes through many foreland. Foreland is something, a piece of land that is extending into the sea. Okay, and these forelands are home to many plants like the willow weed and mallow. So we did till here. I chatter, chatter as I flow to join the brimming river. For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. Again, the words chatter, chatter show that the brook is noisily flowing as it joins the brimming river. And again, the refrain is repeated that men are mortal, but the brook is immortal, or nature is immortal. It outlives men. It the men take birth, men die, men are mortal, but nature is immortal. Similarly, the brook is immortal. Although it joins the brimming river, it continues its life through the river. Now we will uh, go further, because still here we had done yesterday. I repeated that portion. Now we will move further. I wind about and in and out, with here a blossom sailing, and here and there a lusty trout, and here and there a grayling. I wind about. Wind about means, again, the brook does not have a smooth passage. It has a lot of twists and turns on its way. It coils and twists on its way. With here a blossom sailing. Blossom refers to a flower. Can you see? A blossom is a flower. So sometimes there are flowers floating on its surface. And here and there a lusty trout. Trout is a freshwater fish, and a grayling is also a freshwater fish. So the brook is, as it coils and twists and makes its way towards the river, it has sometimes it carries flowers on its surface, and the brook is also home to fish like trout and grayling. Lusty, the word lusty trout means the trout is a freshwater fish which is a very vigorous and energetic fish. So it has been referred to as lusty by the poet, because a trout is a very vigorous and energetic fish. So it has been referred to as a trout. So this stanza tells us again that the brook does not have a very smooth path. It has a lot of coils and twists and turns on its way. Sometimes there are flowers floating on its surface, and the brook is home to a fish like trout and grayling. These are the names of freshwater fish. Okay, so and a trout is referred to as lusty because it is a very energetic fish, and therefore the poet refers to it as a lusty trout. Okay, the next stanza. And here and there a foamy flake upon me as I travel, with many a silvery water break above the golden gravel. Okay, so here and there a foamy flake. You know, when there is a very fast movement of water, a very turbulent flow of water. Sometimes when you open your tap and the pressure of the water is very high, you see that in your bucket there are foams being formed. Okay, so whenever the brook is passing through or flowing through uh, some object where the flow of water is very turbulent. Occasionally, you will see that in places, these small brooks or streams have a very fast flow. So this turbulent flow of the water makes foamy flakes. Foams are formed, bubbles are produced. Okay, upon me as I travel. That means sometimes I carry these foamy flakes with me when I'm traveling. Okay, so these flakes of foam are produced because I have a very turbulent flow in places, and which float on the brook with many a silvery water break. Now, water break refers to the breaks on the brook surface caused by unevenness of its bed. Sometimes the brook has to flow through uneven paths. Sometimes there would be pebbles, sometimes there would be sand. So since the path of the brook is not even, so the surface of the water seems to break. And when the sunlight falls on that surface, it is reflected as a silvery water break. So water break, again, I'm explaining, water break are breaks in the brook's surface caused by unevenness. There is uneven the water, the brook's water flows through uneven path, and therefore there are certain breaks in the water. And when the sun falls on these water breaks, the water breaks seem to be silvery in color. Therefore, it has been referred to as a silvery water break. Above the golden gravel. Gravel is again a kind of stone which has a brownish yellow hue. It is a brownish yellow colored stone. So when the brook is passing through such a golden brown hue, the stone, these water breaks are formed, and this water break, when the sun falls on them, they reflect the light of the sun and appear to be silver in color. And here and there a foamy flake, I told you, foamy flakes are formed when the brook has an occasional turbulent flow of water, very fast flow of water. Foamy flakes are formed on the surface of the brook, and it carries those flakes of foam along with it as it travels. Silvery water breaks are breaks on the brook surface caused by the uneven surface or the uneven bed over which the brook is flowing. And the sun's and they reflect, these water breaks reflect the sun and appear to be silver in color. And these water breaks are formed when the brook is traveling over the gravel. Okay. And draw them all along and flow to join the brimming river. For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. Again, the brook is saying that I take all of these objects along with me. The brook is taking all these objects along as it is flowing to join the brimming river. The blossom, that means the flower, the foamy flake, the trout, the grayling, all these objects the brook is taking along with it to join the brimming river. And again, the refrain is repeated, for men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. Next stanza. I steal by lawns and grassy plots. I slide by hazel covers. I move the sweet forget-me-nots that grow for happy lovers. See these words like steal, slide. Okay. Now see, we are using first in the beginning of the poem, we were using words like sudden sally, rush. Now the brook has grown older, it has covered a lot of distance. So now we are the human life also, when you see in the later half, the energy level goes down. So now the energy level of the brook has also gone down. So it is stealing by lawns and grassy plots, means it is going slowly, stealthily through lawns. That means grassy plots means grassy stretches of land. It passes land which is grassy. I slide by hazel covers. Hazel is again a type of shrub. So it is passes by land which is covered by these shrubs called hazel. I move the sweet forget-me-nots that grow for happy lovers. Now, forget-me-not is a bright blue flower that grows on the side, on the banks of the brook. On the banks of the brook, these bright blue flowers are there, which are called forget-me-nots. So when the brook is moving, when the brook is flowing, it gently moves these flowers. I move the sweet forget-me-nots means it gently moves these flowers as it passes them. That grow for happy lovers means these flowers are a sign of faithfulness and love. And these flowers are said to be a symbol of love, and therefore it is saying that these flowers which grow for happy lovers, which grow as a symbol of love, the brook is gently moving past these flowers, these forget-me-not flowers. So in this stanza also, we come to know that the brook is passing through grassy stretches of land. Through lawns means grass again, and then it is passing by land covered with hazel. Hazel is a type of shrub, and as it moves, as the brook is moving forward, it moves the forget-me-not flowers, which are a sign of love. Okay, it moves those flowers as it passes by them. These flowers grow along the banks of the brook, and the brook is passing by these flowers, and it is gently moving these forget-me-nots. I slip, I slide, I gloom, I glance among my skimming swallows. I make the netted sunbeam dance against my sandy shallows. Now see, I slip, I slide, I gloom, I glance. All these words refer to the movement of the brook, the way the brook is moving now. It is now the movement is not so quick as before. So these words have been used by the poet. I slip, I slide. That means gently glide. I gloom, I glance. Gloom and glance have been used to make the poem, the lines sound nicer in a poem. But these words refer to the slow movement of the brook now. Among my skimming swallows. Now swallow is a bird. Okay, it is a bird which catches insects from the river. So these skimming, that means these swallows are looking for insects, looking to catch insects from the brook's surface. These swallow is a songbird which is trying to look for insects to eat on the brook's surface. Because the brook is moving slowly now, the movement of the brook has become slower. As it moves towards the river, the swallows are there looking to catch insects from the surface of the brook. I make the netted sunbeam dance against my sandy shallows. Netted sunbeam. Why is the sunbeam called netted? Because the brook's movement is not continuous. Okay, it is moving over uneven surfaces. So it seems as when the sunlight falls on such an uneven surface of water, it seems as if the sunbeams are dancing. The sunlight falling on the brook seems to dance because the brook is moving over uneven surfaces where the flow of water is not continuous, not even. It is always an uneven movement because the brook is passing over a lot of different kind of land. Sometimes it is passing over pebbles, sometimes it is passing over gravel, sometimes it is passing over lawns and grassy plots. So the movement of the brook being uneven, the sunbeam which falls on the surface of the brook, it is also not very continuous, and therefore the sunlight falling on the brook seems to dance. It forms a net kind of a netted structure on the surface of the brook. Sandy shallows. So shallow means a place where the water level is not, the water is not so deep. The water is not so deep where, because in some places the brook passes over some sandy land. And here the water is not so deep, and therefore it is referred to as a sandy shallow. Silt and sand is deposited. It passes over some places where sand or silt has been deposited, and therefore the water is not so deep in these places. The brook is not so deep in such places, and therefore the sunbeam seems to dance because the surface of the brook is uneven. All the time the brook does not pass through the same kind of land, therefore it is not continuous, and hence the sunbeam seems to dance. I murmur under moon and stars in Bramley wildernesses. I linger by my shingly bars. I loiter round my cresses. So now the first line itself will tell you that now night has fallen. It is night time. I murmur under moon and stars. Murmur means whisper. Now see the change in the uh, words used by the poet. In the beginning, it was always chatter, chatter, babble, bubble. So that was indicative of how energetic the brook was in the beginning. The poet was using the words chatter, chatter. A lot of times the poet has used the word I chatter, chatter as I flow. Okay, now the poet is using the word murmur. Murmur means whisper. Okay, so it is night time and the brook is still moving, but it is now only whispering. Hmm? I murmur under moon and stars. Now the brook is whispering, making less noise. Under the moon and stars, it's night time. In brambly wildernesses, bramble is again a kind of plant which is found in the forest. Wilderness means forest. Bramble is a kind of thorny bush, wild plant. Okay, so I linger by my shingly bars. Now shingles are small pebbles, small round pebbles. Okay, now these are found in the slowest part of the brook. In the slowest part of the brook, we find these shingles which are small round pebbles. Okay, so linger. Now see, linger means to stay for a long time. I linger on. That means I stayed for a long time. So why is the brook lingering over the shingly bars? Because its movement is already very slow. It has slowed down its movement. These pebbles have slowed down the movement of the brook. Okay, these shingly bars have slowed down the movement of the brook and therefore the word linger. Now see, the use of the words murmur shows that it is not so noisy now. The brook is not so noisy now. It is whispering. Linger, linger shows that the brook is lingering on. It is not moving very fast. It is taking its time. Now loiter. Loiter means to move around aimlessly. That means when the teacher tells you why are you loitering around, that means why are you moving here and there without any aim, aimlessly moving around. So now the brook is also lingering and loitering. That means it is taking its own time. It is not in a hurry now. It is not rushing through. It is now taking a lot of time in moving. So it is loitering around my cresses are again a kind of plant uh, which are found in the forests. Okay, cresses are also kind of water plants which are found in the forests. So the brook, although it is still moving, its speed has come down, just like human beings in the later part of their life, they also lose the vitality, the energy level goes down. Similarly, the brook, when it is almost going to join the brimming river, it has slowed down, it is making less noise, it is lingering and loitering, it is taking its own sweet time. It has slowed down because of the small rounded shingles which are there now. Shingles are found in the slowest part of the brook. Remember, when the brook has become very slow, the movement of the brook, wherever it is very slow, shingles are found in that part. Because of these pebbles, the movement of the brook becomes very slow. And out again I curve and flow to join the brimming river. For men may come and men may go, but I go on forever. Again, the last stanza, and out again. That means it has now left the wilderness. It has now come out of the forest. Out again means it has left the wilderness. It has left the forest now. And again, I curve and flow. That means again, it is curving and flowing. It does not have a smooth flow even now. It is winding in and out again, although it has left the wilderness. Hmm. To join the brimming river. Again, it has joined the brimming river. And again, the poet repeats the refrain for the fourth time here, that the theme of the poem is to make us understand that although the brook will be joining the brimming river now, and it will lose its individual identity, but it is going to live on forever through the river. Okay, it is going to continue for eternity. All things in nature are eternal. Man is mortal, nature is not mortal. Human life is transient, means it comes to an end. Human life is transient, it is mortal, but nature is immortal, it is perpetual, it is eternal. Eternal means goes on forever. Nature is eternal, nature is perpetual, man is mortal, but nature is immortal. So this is what is the life of the brook all about, the journey of the brook when compared to the journey of human beings. So here we come to the end of this poem, and I hope you've understood it, and we will take up your questions now.